our final champ select to see who's going to be able to take home this series, as AHQ have decided to take blue side. Apex is still in the mid lane, Talon on red.
We were talking about how this last game could be insane when it comes to drafts. Into the draft, seeing certain picks that we've never ever seen before, or become completely standard and just go back to their roots and their strengths back in the regular season. And now it's looking towards that usual ban right now coming from AHQ and as well as Talon. So we'll have to see what matchup it is going to be for Hanabi and Ziv, and also what it is for Candy and Apex.
So we'll see here now. The LeBlanc and the Syndra being banned out on the side of AHQ. Talon, they're going to go ahead and ban out the AD carry threats. No Varus and no Aphelios being available for the side of AHQ. And I have to wonder, does Talon ban out the Graves? Yes, they will. They will not allow that to go over to AHQ for a first pick.
And Misfortune is open. AHQ has been first picking the MF whenever they're on blue side, and it has been, I believe, undefeated so far in the series, including Azir. So at this point, the question is, does Talon secure their Azir at the moment in this second pick? Do they get that Ezreal, which has been the usual matchup, into the Misfortune? Or do they go back to the Kalista, which, honestly speaking, I am not a big fan of in this series in particular, since it hasn't exactly been working in favor of Talon.
Yeah, there was the one Azir game that did end up in a loss, and that was Talon's third game, where Candy was trying to make all the hero plays, but it just wasn't enough. We will see a Kalista Taric once again, and this is, well, we've seen AHQ are fine playing against this, so I want to see whether or not are we going to get the spicy Zillion. Is it going to be the Apex special, or are we going to go into a different style of bomb and go with the Ziggs possibly here? There is still the Azir. He could just pick up the Azir and just do what he did in the first game we saw Apex. Yeah, that looks like that's a much better decision, I think, overall here for AHQ.
We did mention that the draft can go insanely different or back to standards. And based on what we're looking at so far, it's looking to be a little bit more from what we've seen in the first 2 weeks of the PCS when it first began. But now for AHQ, opting to go for that Trundle instead. What does Talon decide to do? Do they go for the Rek'Sai? Maybe perhaps the Olaf, as they do want to secure Candy on the Zoe.
I'm 50-50 when it comes to Candy on Zoe. We saw it once during the series. It wasn't too impressive. And on top of that, if I'm Talon, the one thing I hope they do not do is push him bot lane early, or else they will get camped non-stop like we saw in the second game from AHQ, where poor Unified was just getting pillared non-stop, and that absolutely cripples Kalista as a pick.
Exactly, I feel like that is definitely the scary part, considering that would be the other setup that AHQ is hoping to get, as, you know, getting Wako is Sarah ahead. And now that we talked about top side a little bit more earlier, and I wonder if AHQ and Talon would go the same path of opting to a little bit more tankier side of pickup, or probably just back to the usual bruisers, maybe the Aatrox Renekton matchup that we usually see because Ornn is banned out, or perhaps we see Hanabi back on the Gangplank since it's open, or maybe even the Mordekaiser.
So we see they go with the Lee Sin here for River as an insta-lock for the jungle pickup. I'm actually shocked. Well, if you look at AHQ, they kind of forced the hand. You took away the Elise, you took away the Jarvan. Maybe, you know, River could have went to the Olaf, but instead he opts in for this Lee Sin. And this is as flashy as you can get, I think, on the side of Talon. Is it smart, though, is the question. Is AHQ are just going to go back to comfort picks and go in line with what we have seen as the just wombo combo team fight?
Yeah, imagine the impact of the Emperor's Divide, and as well as the bullet time. It has been very effective time and time again. And we did mention earlier, it could be the possible Renekton Aatrox matchup at top side, with having at least a Renekton for HQ for that mid-game buffer. They've been hovering around the Poppy for some time now, but it seems to me it will not be seen in this series in particular. For Talon, what do you decide to pick? Maybe another tank, or perhaps you go for a Bruiser versus Bruiser?
Now we haven't seen the set all series. That would be a first, or do we just get the Hanabi special? and get his gangplank getting locked in for their final deciding game here against AHQ. That's going to be the case. Smiles all around. It looks like Talon are happy, and this is a very burst-heavy draft. We'll see whether or not it pays off, though.
I am a little bit concerned for Talon in particular, because we've seen how painful it is for the gangplank earlier into the game versus early game champions into the matchup with an early game jungler as a pair. So perhaps I'm going to expect River to try and counter gank and possibly even try to save Hanabi during these tough first few minutes of this match.
Yeah, for Hanabi, I think he's going to be, like you mentioned, the main target, especially when you pair that up with, say, Renekton. And if we get to see Kongi be heavily aggressive once again on this Trundle, it can spell disaster here for Talon. And of all times here, you're picking a lot of comfort champs. You're getting, you know, the gangplank for Hanabi. River loves his Lee Sin, but the Lee Sin has been either insane kicks coming out from Kongi, or it's been non-existent from the games we have seen from AHQ. And Candy on the Zoe. I have questions. I think overall you got to give the draft over to AHQ when it comes to the team fights. That's where the games have been going. It all gets decided here, though, onto the Rift. Our final game of the lower bracket final. Winner here goes to the grand final tomorrow to take on Machi Esports.
And we're going for a Game 5 once more, as AHQ had to go through 2 series today. Talon had to go through 5, or rather 3 best of 5s in the whole playoff season, at least. And now, no strange picks whatsoever. It is quite reminiscent of what we've seen in the first 2 weeks of the PCS. Probably except maybe the Kalista, maybe except the Trundle, as it has been picked late in the later stages. But now, yeah, the question is whether or not they're able to, or rather can Candy manage to land all of the bubbles, the key bubbles, and burst people down, as when he picked this champion up, it wasn't exactly felt during this series.
Yeah, I think for Talon here, it's you got to hit that go button pretty early. You got to find some opportunities, or else, you know, you come looking toward that late game, and it's a scary lineup to deal with, and it heavily relies on Candy fishing for the bubbles to maybe catch out one of the squishy members of AHQ. If you're able to find the Azir or the MF during a bubble, sure, there's a possibility. But we've seen Talon have to resort to that kind of playstyle, and rarely has it ever panned out in their favor.
Yeah, that's why I'm scared, because we've seen this style before from Talon, which means they have to sort of, if they want to get objectives, they have to make picks first before transitioning to an objective dance. Or else, if they want to try to fight 5v5 early, I don't think it's going to pan out too well, because AoE-wise, they sort of lose, and they have to wait for Hanabi to scale a little bit later into the game to have impactful barrels and cannon barrages. So for AHQ, they have to take advantage of their control when it comes to, you know, how much damage they can deal in AoE styles. So for Talon, it's just about that patience and getting the picks that they need earlier on.
Kongi is just going to go ahead, clear out his Gromp, so it's going to be a pretty mirrored jungle, as it was buff to buff into a Gromp start for both of these jungles. Kongi, though, I'm interested he didn't pass directly up to top, as we do see Hanabi already being very aggressive pushing this one in. We mentioned that this Trundle could cause a lot of issues, but it seems like priority is going to be given toward the bot side of the map, as Hanabi is going to go ahead and put down vision immediately to try and give himself some safety.
Yeah, a lot of vision being laid down, just as you mentioned, especially towards the riverside. And yeah, it seems to me the plan is not, instead of going mid lane, for rather top side immediately, perhaps maybe setting a gank, a counter gank even, towards bot side.
Oh, River trying to catch out Kongi. That's going to force a flash immediately, so a nice little collapse there is going to net themselves a summoner off the Trundle to start things off here in Game 5, as Hanabi already trying to apply as much pressure as he can. He's got himself, again, 2 stacks of the Corrupting Pot as well as a Biscuit to help out with his mana, as he's just continually pressuring in onto Ziv here in top side.
Yeah, meanwhile, for Ziv, not been able to have the fun time considering he doesn't have his full combo just yet.
Oh, a nice hook there onto Unify. That's going to force him to have to back up. Double up is going to connect. Not enough to force out a heal from Kaiwing, so they are able to hold on to their summoners, but a bit of a scary instance there for the bot side of Talon.
Yeah, considering that that is definitely not the first back that you were expecting coming from Unifiers. You have to come back with double Dorrance instead of such a high impact item to add to your stats to trade better and have a little bit of more pain when it comes to stacking that red. So now, for Candy though, at least he does have priority over to Apex in comparison to what we've seen earlier on where Kongya has been very felt in the early phases of the game, which made Candy a little bit more reserved when it comes to the early laning phase.
Nice Battle Star coming out there from Candy, able to get a nice little chunk of damage onto Apex. Apex had a rather disgusting display on his Azir the first instance we saw him, and that was game 2 of this series. And I'm shocked it actually made its way through the draft. The fact that Talon was willing to give that one over in response to a misfortune lock-in, especially when Candy has absolutely loved the champion. Keep track though of how this match is going. Looks like it's going to be Candy looking for the first back. The top side, it's going to be Hanabi looking for his first back as well. He's able to get the push in onto Ziv.
Yeah, now that you mention it, there is an extreme priority over not separating the Callista with the Taric, I suppose, since the first rotation of picks, I believe, was the Taric in as well as the Callista. So we'll have to see whether or not that's going to work out, since this duo in general has been picking this up even when they're matched against Machi, so they really are actually the only team I believe that plays this combo constantly. Yeah, and Apex for sure is going to be extremely deadly later on, but for now it's no early dragon takes at the moment, so they're most likely waiting for the usual level 6 coming from maybe mid lane or maybe even the junglers before anything else.
Still waiting for that first instance of a jungle to show themselves in one of these lanes to try and make an impact. Kong is still waiting on his flash. He does have that pillar though, and especially toward that bot lane, I think that's kind of where he's been trying to path recently, but unfortunately it's just kind of odd on the timing, and it seems like Wako and Ysera have been able to actually find advantages alone in that lane without the assistance of this Trundle nonstop. River is pathing down here though. Would get caught out by the control ward if he's not careful. Looks like Talon are looking to at least try and apply pressure. They know where this control ward is. Ysera, is he actually going to try and go for this? No, just trying to sneak around the corner, and, oh, this is dangerous. River does show himself, does get the tag onto the Nautilus, but they aren't going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to resonating strike your way throughout this Nautilus. Is going to be quite an easy auto stun towards a Q, perhaps, as this is definitely Talon's playstyle when they are at red side. So once bot lane does have priority, you just pair up Highwing with River to roam around. So Sarah will try to match that as well.
You gotta be careful here if you're on the side of Talon. These choke points are rather a benefit when it comes to the Trundle of Kongye. You can put down the pillar, and that really messes up your pathing and then makes it a bit of a pretty much torture to try and make your way out of the jungle. Luckily for them, there you don't see any aggression because there isn't a level 6 for the Misfortune just yet. Hanabi also has his ultimate now. If he really wants to, he can try and make a small impact during some of these fights elsewhere on the map. TP advantage is actually in favor of Civ here, so you'll have that available if they want to try and go for something in bot lane, possibly.
Yeah, considering that Wako and Ysera will go throughout their second back, so gonna get more items in hand. To be ready a little bit, perhaps, for the potential dragon take and take advantage of that window that you mentioned that Hanabi doesn't have teleport, so the BF sword is actually pretty good pickup. But now, based on their direction, they are opting to go for this Rift Herald instead to feed potentially the gold towards top side for Ziv and put Hanabi perhaps in an awkward position and relieve pressure for Ziv.
Yeah, get Civ at least going here on the Renekton if he wishes to. They could also, if they decide to, just try and funnel that gold onto the Misfortune, and they say, all right, you know what, we don't really care whether or not this Renekton's going to act as a bridge. We're just going to try and get to our team fight spike in around that, you know, 25 to 30 minute mark once we have about 2 to 3 items onto our carries is another option. And this is a calm game from both sides of the map, as River is going to be the first one to actually try and go for a dragon on the side of Talon.
It's interesting because I think based on what we've seen in the past few matches, for playoffs at least, one of the junglers would like to immediately get a jump on the dragon just in time to trade it for the Rift Herald take, but because Talon's composition is not ready for early game dragon takes, they only have to opt for trades when AHQ decides to pull the trigger and pursue an objective.
Well, with that, Hanabi and Kaiwing are going to try and do their best to try and prevent this siege from coming through. Fungi does have Rift Herald available, and he can crack the eye if they really want to try and force this. I think they want to try and get at least one more plate down before they pop the Shelly, and that would allow them to guarantee the first turret. Try and inject that gold over. It's going to be Cannon Barrage being used by Hanabi just to clear out the waves, so that will delay this by just a second. Stun is going to land, though, into the depth charge. Unfortunately, that pillar not in the best place as it forces to the side both members, as Kaiwing actually got pushed to safety, and Hanabi ended up using his flash to get himself away.
Yeah, and that is quite unfortunate. The combo, there's a little bit of not so much synergy.
Oh, he gets kicked back in underneath the tower. He has to force the flash over, but River finds himself first blood. It's going to be a flash over the wall, though. In comes Civ on this Renekton. Finds one target, looking for the second, and Kong is able to bring down the club on the troll. It'll be a 2-for-1 in favor of AHQ. Candy on the hunt here, looking for a nice paddle star. Does get the bubble to connect over onto the Misfortune, but unfortunately for them, not able to burst it, and that is going to be Shelly taking down the tower, and with that, AHQ strike first on the map.
Wildly done from AHQ. Did not expect that Renekton, did not expect that Ziv would just come and add to the numbers advantage that AHQ already had when they wanted to do this dive, and then we saw how Hanabi had to use Flash to just put him out of range of that bullet time. But again, the teleport advantage was just really, really painful. But this kick from River, though, really did it well, for as that was, I believe, the first blood. But the teleport from Ziv, though, makes it really, really problematic for Talon.
So there we go. First brick gold secured in favor of AHQ. They're able to get that Misfortune, the Essence Reaver, immediately. Meanwhile, Unified still sitting on components as he had to get himself his boots, as well as the Dorn Blade will be at least able to finish off his boots to tier 2. What that does mean, this Misfortune is just going to have a bit more of a power spike here when it comes into our secondary objective fights when we hit the mid game.
Yeah, definitely more adding to the raw stats as well. Additional damage coming from maybe the bullet time for later. Unified in the meantime, yep, you're right. Opting for Berserker's Greaves at least to buff a little of the kiting that Unified has on this Callista and apply a little bit more stacks faster for the Rend. But now that's less than 2 minutes or so for Talon to get at least ahead on this Dragon take. But again, AHQ, they have got a ton of AoE, so Talon has to maneuver, possibly get a pick first, force someone back before they fully commit to this dragon.
We're going to have a dragon now in 90 seconds. See whether or not Talon are going to try and contest the... I don't think they really can at this point. I think you're kind of waiting on Hanabi. He's still not even getting his Trinity Force. It should be online on his next pack. It looks like it's interrupted as he just wants to soak in that wave. Scuttle Crab is also going to get secured here by AHQ. Going to allow them to get the lockdown they need. Movement speed in the possible fight that could take place beforehand, as Candy's just trying to clear out waves best he can on the Zoe with Battle Stars.
Yep, and it has been that exchange, ping pong, clearing the waves in mid lane. For Hanabi, he does have that teleport advantage, but he will eventually suffer if he decides to teleport elsewhere and Ziv continues to that push, as now a lot of people... The teleports are not online for Talon to relieve and exchange pressure and switch lanes as they please. But now it seems to me Dragon is going to be spawning in a few seconds as HQ already managed to back in time. So once they walk back, they have managed to secure their items as, you know, pickaxe being picked up and Nasher's already completed for Apex.
There we go. Yeah, Nasher's a nice little spike there for the Azir. Gonna have some decent, consistent damage. Candy, though, has his loot in, so he's able to get a good little chunk there and there. Might be able to chip away Apex where they need to. Looks like Talon, though, are looking to at least gain a little bit of control over the midsection of the map. Infernal has already spawned, and that's going to allow AHQ to roam on over with the scuttle already secured. Gives them the natural vision as well as the movement speed, and it doesn't look like Talon are going to be able to do much here as the first Dragon goes over to AHQ off the second spawn.
Honestly, that first take on the first Dragon really gave a lot of room for Talon to maybe give away the first, the next, maybe possibly 2 Dragons, or the next Dragon rather, for Talon to have a little bit of breathing space. One thing I'm scared for is that after that one gank at top side, Hanabi has been left alone on this gangplank constantly, so I feel like eventually when AHQ and Talon meet as 5, Hanabi will be just such, is going to be definitely painful with barrels stacked in with damage as well.
Well, and that's what it kind of comes down to here on the side of Talon, I think, in the later part of this game is, can Hanabi get a good barrel combo into the backline of AHQ? Can Candy get a good paddle start? If they're able to find their marks onto the Azir and to the Misfortune, sure, I think Talon can go ahead and take these fights, but you also have to remember that AHQ, when it comes to just an overall execution of a team fight, you just got to have a good Misfortune ultimate, pair that up with a good depth charge from the side of the Nautilus onto one of these squishy members, and unfortunately, that Trundle is such a pain to deal with if you're Kalista.
Yeah, it's just, he's just gonna subjugate, steal your stats, and then just try to stick towards you, as Kaiwing will definitely be on guard duty. Now Talon hoping to find a pick, but the shifting sands will keep Apex safe at least, even holding on to that cleanse as he still has a mode of escape, but all summoners are intact for all of the players. So both teams are going to be primed and ready, considering that they've managed to get their first item spikes already.
Well, I see here Talon are at least trying to set up picks where they can, and it is working out pretty well in their favor. They can actually look to try and maybe go for this Rift Trail. They're trying to use it strictly as bait to see whether or not AHQ are going to try and contest this, as, you know, I think if Rain comes out, Pillar is also going to be there. A nice Paddle Star comes out, but still not enough damage as Kaiwing gets himself back to safety. Had Ysera looking for a flank on the Nautilus. Meanwhile, bot lane, it's Hanabi and Civ whacking away at each other. A pirate versus an alligator. I'm not too sure who wins that matchup. But nonetheless, a classic tale when it comes to League of Legends top lane is Candy. Ooh, able to actually get himself a good bubble. They actually able to get the damage there. Candy's trying to fiddle it over the wall. Does get the Proto Belt proc to at least get it, so that forces the Misfortune down to half health.
Hero play by Kongya there to block out most of the Paddle Star damage, as Wako will slowly try to heal with Ziv. Again, just as you mentioned, Hanabi and Ziv whacking it out here at bot side, but
oh boy,
HQ setting up a dive.
All right, so if the Trundle does show himself, you can pretty much say, all right, if you're on the side of AHQ, you're not going to be able to finish this one off, as Hanabi is able to pull the Jack Sparrow, and you thought he got him, but nope. Gets himself back to safety, and that means Talon are going to be able to pick up the Rift Trail for free, not losing out a member, only going to lose likely that tower in bot lane that was going to fall off the next wave anyway.
Yeah, they weren't able to make at least something happen at bot side, so I feel like AHQ will be happy with that consolation prize, air quote, with just the tower. The Cannon Barrage really put a lot of pressure for AHQ, for Kongye and Ziv to not pursue with that kill. But again, it is definitely Candy's poke that managed to at least scare AHQ away from the objective, and that's the second Rift Herald being attained by River here. So now the question is, which do they want to break, considering that everything is still pretty much intact in terms of outer towers for AHQ?
we go. Gonna go ahead, play ping pong in the mid lane, just try and soak up as much farm as possible as they're just trying to get this misfortune to our second item. And I think that's when AHQ are going to start looking towards some of these team fights and saying, all right, we can actually try and go for some of these. Comes down, can Talon get a good pick in their favor? Mountain Drake is spawning in 30 seconds. You already see AHQ at least setting up vision around the objective. It's going to force Talon to have to come over and check it themselves. River fishing there with his Q, not going to find anything in the pixel brush. Talon just go back into the mid lane to try and get the push and get a little bit of priority back in their favor.
I can't imagine how much pressure Ysera has right now on this Nautilus, since he's definitely that go signal when it comes to initiating the fights, or else Talon will be the first one to pull the trigger if AHQ wants to engage at certain objective fights such as this.
Well, this is a gutsy play here from Talon. Pretty much put down the Rift Herald to get natural priority into the lane, and we'll start pushing in soon. Talon are going to do what they can to try and delay this as long as possible. River able to tag over to the side. Cannon barrage is there. Bullet time comes on down, but it is going to get secured in favor of the side of AHQ off the Misfortune ultimate. Meanwhile, though, Talon, Rift Herald's still pushing in into the mid lane, so they don't lose out on much. Candy's forced to flash over the wall. That's going to be the depth charge hitting onto the Zoe, but still not enough, and Shelly should be able to get a second charge here. Waco's got to be careful. That's going to be 2 towers in mid lane getting taken here by Talon for the price of 1 dragon.
And Waco was hoping to most likely maybe hit the eye to sort of not get that last charge in, but Talon is rewarded. They managed to get a huge exchange, and it all is thanks to, as well as the pokes coming from Candy. I mean, Candy is not getting a bunch of kills, but pushing AHQ, some of the members to half HP, is definitely going to do the job. But for AHQ, they do have 2 dragons already in their pockets, but mid lane ain't looking pretty healthy.
So they get the clear out, so 2 towers taken here by Talon is able to equal out the gold. Does mean AHQ were able to start up their stacks toward the Mountain Drake, and a Mountain Soul would be kind of a bummer here for Talon if it goes in favor of AHQ. Can soak up a little bit of the poke damage that'll come out from Candy, as well as a little bit of the barrel damage that might come out from Hanabi during some of these later fights. So not something they necessarily want to give on over. Either way, it's still going to be about 3 minutes before we get to that next fight. Baron, though, has spawned. And with an Azir, we've seen teams not afraid to try and take this very early in the game. We saw Talon do the quick rotation back on what I believe it was game 1. Civ is just going to go down towards bot lane, continue farming. Misfortune, though, on her second item with the Infinity Edge complete.
And that could be the go signal for AHQ to be a little bit more confident when taking objective fights and press on with their lead. And we did mention that there's a lot of pressure toward Ysera to maybe at least get a good dredge line, a good hook. But unfortunately, we haven't really seen that just yet, as Talon is just incredibly wary of certain picks like that. Since it's pretty linear, you do expect Ysera to be the one that starts the fight. Meanwhile, for the side of Unified, still waiting on towards either the Runas to just apply a lot of Ren stacks later on in the team fight.
Good pick there by AHQ. They're able to take down the first 2 tower in mid lane. Gives them a little bit of pressure to fight back here, as Talon was able to take over the midsection of the map with the 2-tier tower takes. Nonetheless, Hanabi is just going to continue to apply pressure in that side lane, keep pushing while he can. Apex just goes up top to soak up the farm. Go back into a bit of this farm game where it feels like Talon, we're starting to see them fall back into the style of play that we saw throughout the course of the regular season, where, you know what, if they're not able to just jump ahead early, they just assume they can somehow take the team fights. But I have to still give it in favor of AHQ unless Hanabi is able to make a massive barrel play.
Yeah, it's going to be solely heavily reliant on Hanabi's barrels later on. Oops. I thought it's going to be a duel as the Bork has been activated, but yeah, I feel like eventually Candy's poke will not be able to do as much, as this is the point where AHQ eventually in the later phases of the game will just build probably maybe even like Banshees on the side of Apex, a little bit more MR. So any of the initial rotations from Candy is not going to work out so well, and AHQ just has to pull the trigger and initiate, so pokes don't really happen for Candy. And with that said, Talon does have that Tarek ult to mitigate and probably bait out a couple of ults first before anything else to soak up the bullet time. But we've seen before, Wacko and Apex in general has faced the exact same comp of, you know, Unified and Highwing on this Tarek and Kalista. So they wait for Tarek's ult first before any of the damage AoE comes into play.
Yeah, the thing about with the Tarek, it can be very powerful when it comes to the later part of the game, but what we've seen during this series is Talon, they use it pretty trigger happy. They say, all right, this is the time, this is when we're going to fight. But you know what, AHQ, they say if they're far enough away, they just back off, and then they say, all right, you don't have invulnerability, now it's time for us to use our ults, and we start just absolutely destroying it. A good Pal Star coming out from Candy. He's able to get a decent little chunk of damage onto Sarah. That Nautilus, though, is positioning rather aggressive. Kailing almost going to get caught out, but it's going to be the Cannon Barrage coming out immediately. Unified want to try and go for a fight. Instead, it's just going to be the Zir Tower being put down immediately into the mid lane. Going in, it's brought down to about half health as the Pal Star combo is there. AHQ, though, get inside track once again onto the Mountain Drake. Does Talon try and contest this? River has to do it blind, but he's way too late to the party, and Talon, they're just a little bit too late on the rotations when they know objectives are up.
Yeah, and considering that Candy has managed to poke out a little bit of Kongye a little bit, perhaps maybe even Apex earlier on, but unfortunately, just as you mentioned, they were a little bit late onto their rotations. Still a lot of respect towards the damage coming from AHQ, especially that their entrance was that teeny tiny bit of funnel, and Wacko has been holding on to that bullet time. So it's all about feeling each other's timing, where who else pulls their ult first will most likely lose the team fight.
Back Candy goes toward the top side of the map, trying to at least push in onto the second tier tower. The first tier tower that's not been taken just yet. Apex will be able to claim his blue buff, has his Banshees to soak up a little bit of that upfront burst. Kind of just get it back into this bit of patience, as Talon are just not wanting to fight, it seems. And my issue with them, when they fall back to this, is when they need to fight, they just don't either. Like we just saw, when it comes to this dragon now, AHQ are one dragon take away from getting Mountain Soul, which nullifies Candy's Pal Stars. When it comes to the later part of the game, he won't be able to completely one-shot a carry, and if they're able to live, well, that's pretty much the combo, and Talon might just get collapsed on immediately. See here, Talon going to position themselves toward possibly the Baron, at least trying to clear out vision.
Yeah, we've seen how much trust Talon has when it comes to the unified Kaiwing duo, the later stages of the game. Candy not able to get early game kills, as well as Hanabi too, having been left to farm on his own. So Essence Reaver completed, and even has a BF Thorn in his hand. And right now Talon, again, they will have to rely on these bubbles, and as well as the follow-up dazzles from the side of Highwing, and that's the time they can initiate the fight, where AHQ will be forced to commit whether they like it or not. But unfortunately for AHQ, they've been also have been keeping a safe distance at least, so it's all about who pulls the trigger and who gets impatient actually in this series.
We resorted back to the mid lane ARAM of PCS old, it seems. Civ with a flank. He's going to get jumped on here by Kaiwing and not able to actually land the stun. And Talon have to be very careful with how far forward they actually push up here, because they can easily get flanked on if they're not careful. Candy just hunting for what he can. A nice hook comes in onto Sarah, doing a decent amount of damage. Cannon Barrage is there. River wanted to jump on in. He ends up kicking away the Nautilus, and they're not able to actually finish off the kill. There it finally goes, as Hanabi is able to secure it with the Q. Kaiwing gets thrown into the battle. That is going to be the Tark ultimate already being used. Civ actually popped his Dominus looking for a possible flank, but he wasn't able to do a whole lot, and Talon are able to find a pick.
So Talon is able to eliminate the main engage of AHQ, and I feel like they'll be satisfied with that, considering there's not a lot to take anyways from the map, and Ysera will come back online in time for the next dragon to spawn. So what do they bait out? Ysera doesn't necessarily use any of the summoner spells that he had. He has Flash and Exhaust, actually. We'll see whether or not he used it. I don't think he did, because he got just immediately bursted down. So that's still at least complete for the next fight for them.
So there we go. Talon are able to find a pick. Now, are they able to do it again? Because we have 1 minute until we have Mountain Soul. It just seems both of these teams are taking their sweet time when it comes to this best of 5. It is a series of attrition at this point. Who can survive the longest? Who can keep up their mental as the night goes, as we're now cresting in over almost 8 hours on broadcast, which is, it's been a long day, to say the very least. Still not done yet. Candy over the wall. Gets a little tick of damage, but not a lot else, since he can't follow up on the bubble as Apex got himself to safety.
Yeah, Banshees at least hasn't been blocked, so Apex will wait for it to be up before advancing a little bit and put the soldiers down and clear down the waves. And now 16 seconds on the clock with, you know, Talon having full control over this area at least.
Go, another hook is going to land onto Sarah. Going to try and jump on in. Oh, they got the Misfortune, and that's what you're looking for. If you're on the side of Talon, they take down the Misfortune, and that is the kick that River was hunting for this entire game. The flash out coming from the Nautilus. It won't do enough, and Unified finds himself a double kill.
That was the smoothest thing I've ever seen in the PCS. My, oh my, River showing the Lee Sin plays here today.
Hex, what are you doing,
it's
bud?
Over.
Underneath the tower, he gets himself back to safety. Tried to use the Emperor's Divide to bring in a couple members, but Unified is able to keep himself safe. Talon are also able to secure the Mountain Drake in their favor and delay the Soul away from AHQ. It's going to be another 5 minutes until that opportunity is present once again for Blue Side.
I am in awe. That was just amazing. So for Talon, that play was rewarded as they managed to get a dragon for themselves, deny that fourth dragon away from HQ. Another Baron time again for Talon.
How many times? Talon, it's Baron time, it seems. That's Infinity Edge actually complete there for Hanabi, so they're feeling confident. Kongyu over the wall. Can he jump on in? No, it's not going to be enough, but we have seen this multiple times from Talon. Can they survive the ensuing fight? They will lose the Taric, but they need to disengage immediately.
They're still running for the hills. For AHQ, I don't think they have any sort of leverage to try and chase this down. So this time, fate has changed. Talon is able to secure and save their Baron buff and use it for the next few fights, and it all started here. I want to see this again. This is beautiful.
Show me this. Oh! Gets the Q onto Ysera, gets the ward jump, able to get the flash. Beautifully done there by River to actually catch out the Misfortune.
Yeah, and at that point, it was AHQ losing one person right off the bat. And it snowballed into different objectives too. Not only there was, you know, additional gold in Talon's pockets, they had more room to get this and deny the tower at least, or the dragon at least, and as well as getting that Baron. So everything is pretty much hashtag worth. That was beautiful coming from River.
Yeah, they lose only the Taric. It's been Kaiwing as the sacrificial lamb when it comes to Talon's Baron takes. It's been multiple times. We've seen this, and now Hanabi on this split push. He's able to rip apart towers if he gets near them. And there we go. It's going to be a turret taken, and Talon now with a 4,000 gold lead. These choke points, though, can be lethal, and they can be very hard for Talon to push in, especially up against a Misfortune. So they have to be cautious. They have to find another pick. They got to apply side lane pressure elsewhere on the map and not just expect this to just push in naturally. Hanabi, he's just getting the attention of Civ there, and that's what they need to do here, is that's going to be Talon waiting for the small push to come in through mid.
Yeah, and considering that Hanabi still had flash, so that is definitely not baited out just yet. Guardian's Angel still online for at least Unified. and QSS on the side of Wacko, so that will definitely be very healthy once the bubbles kick in coming from Candy, as the second push will approach slowly at this top side inhibitor tower. But that seems to be the call for that reset. Don't need to be too excited since they do have that lead, and at this point they're gonna just buy a little bit more items. Candy is close to that Zhonya's at least to have that available safety for when it comes to the team fights. Right now it is that Mountain Drake will be definitely key for Talon, as they do want to deny that away from AHQ.
So off this, the Baron buff has began to depreciate in value here, it seems, as unfortunately they weren't able to knock down an inhibitor tower. It seems like Talon are very much in the mood of, if we're going to take a team fight, we're going to take the entire base afterwards. We are going to have another Mountain Drake, though, spawning here in 90 seconds. As Talon are looking to set themselves up. We also have Hanabi. He's sitting on about, I believe that is 65 crit chance. He's going to start doing a decent chunk of damage. Actually,
I'm incredibly scared.
Yeah, no, Hanabi actually, I think he's closer to about 80. He's got himself a lot of crit chance. This Gangplank, if he's able to get a barrel combo off onto a backline, they can do a massive amount of damage. The fact River is backing, though,
Whew.
with 45 seconds, this puts a lot of pressure on Hanabi to actually try and hold this section of the map while they wait for this Lee Sin to rejoin.
Yeah, he just has to make a little bit of the plays to pretend that perhaps some of the members are nearby, which is in fact true now. River had to go back, I believe, to buy his Guardian Angel as well. But now, it seems to me Talon has first dibs in the area of the Dragon. They're removing the Azir tower to at least ensure any sort of chase.
Oh,
I am worried for River.
River. Oh, he saw two. He saw two. So he now knows that two members of AHQ are down. He doesn't know that the third or the fourth is around the corner, though. Civ looking for a possible flank as well. Candy just fishing with the Battlestar. Does Talon try and bring this out? No, they're going to go ahead and collapse immediately onto Civ. They also get the bubble to connect onto the Nautilus. Candy not able to get the connection there onto the Battlestar. Kongya over toward the side. Civ was knocked down to about half health. He is in around the red buff pit, looking for another flank here. Azir is able to get a decent chunk of damage, 50-50 though, onto the Dragon. Civ wants to try and go for the play. That's the all-in on the side of Talon, but instead they opt to back off, and that is going to be the Targ ultimate down, and it's going to be the soul delayed once again here for AHQ. They have to wait another 5 minutes, but here goes Talon trying to jump in immediately. Bullet time gets a decent amount of damage. The exhaust though is there to help cut back on the damage, and Unified able to find his first kill, gets put into stasis. Wacko on the back line. He flashed on forward. He's trying to kite back for his life. He does get taken down in the end. Apex will fall. It's up to Civ to try and turn this one around, but Unified is still alive on the Callista. Ren's falling through. A double kill for the AD carry and the ace for Talon.
And that is a wipe in favor of Talon at the moment, and that is a lot of death timers, and Unified is gonna get a lot of healing from this Raptors. I really thought that was AHQ's team fight to win, but unfortunately a lot of the members from Talon survived the first initial onslaught from AHQ.
And Talon, they refuse to die here as they bring it back into Game 5. And they look for the rematch against Machi Esports in our grand final as they eliminate AHQ.
And here we go. It is going to be a Talon versus Machi finals. And just as you mentioned, a rematch. I am beginning to think that this team gets stronger as the game progresses. And it makes me think that Game 5 could be their series win condition. And that is just insane for Talon.
There you go, and you even saw the coaches on the coaching screen in the bottom left at the end of that fight. They were so excited that they were able to finish off this game. And oh my goodness, Talon.
Wild.
This team, like I said, they forced their opponents to the brink of just exhaustion by just sheer game time, as that now went all the way to the best of 5, the final game you could possibly have. And they still have one more if they want to take it and take home the championship for spring over Machi Esports.
Yeah, this team is absolutely insane, and they're on their way to their 4th BO5 series for tomorrow. And with that type of experience, yes, they've been tried and tested in terms of their mental fortitude. But at the same time, it was Machi that won the series from last time, and yeah, and imagine sending AHQ home. Actually, HQ losing twice, actually up against Talon, and that's pretty wild if you ask me.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at that final team fight, because once I saw that Tark ultimate being used so early before the initial fight, I thought AHQ might turn this back.
Yeah, but the problem was a lot of the players from HQ were already pretty low, including Kongye, and their main engage is Sarah. And at this point, it's all about that cleanup. And I immediately thought, because Candy was pretty much low on mana, but at the same time, Kongye was pretty much still alive. But you know what? Everyone was pretty much low, but even the Guardian Angel not even proc from River. And just, wow. Talon game 5 is their win condition, it seems.
Yeah, and unfortunately for AHQ, they don't even get to fight for second when it comes to the final here against Machi. They don't even get a chance to at least defend their position when it's come to the last couple seasons of the LMS. Talon, though, brand new organization entering the scene, making their first grand finals in their first split. And they get to go up against Machi, a returning organization after picking up the roster of G-Rex. It's just the, you know, a great reunion of a lot of these players now back into the final.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, considering that, again, Talon is their composition or their roster is composed of different key players that have managed to finish either top first finishes, second finishes in the previous, in the LMS back in like around last year. And they've shown how strong they are and have proven to be a huge challenge, considering that Machi was on their way to a 16 win streak or 17 win streak, but once they met Talon, they seem to be the streak enders, if you ask me, because AHQ also was on their way to their 8 win streak up until they met Talon.
Well, so now MVP for your final game here. It is going to go on over to River on the Lee Sin for that big kick combo that came out onto the Misfortune midway through game 5 there, that really started to get the ball rolling here on the side of Talon.
Yeah, it's just one of those plays. Like, after this broadcast, I'll probably look back into the clip again and watch it time and time. It was just completely unexpected. I feel like for AHQ, they really didn't see that coming, as they were hoping to possibly maybe get a counter engage perhaps and see if whether or not they can maybe find mistakes again based from game number 2 and game number 3 in this series.
Yeah, so for Talon, they get to, well, they get a night's rest, and then they go straight into the grand final. So there is no rest for the wicked when it comes to this team. Unfortunately for AHQ, their long day ends with them placing 3rd overall when it comes to the split. And luckily, we have ourselves a quick interview, actually, with the players over in Taipei, and we're going to be talking over with Hanabi. So we're going to throw it on over to our translator, Kevin, and he's going to be assisting when it comes to the translations between everything.
So after replacing Uniboy with Apex, it seems like he managed to cause some problem in the series. However, you managed to beat them in the end. So what sort of adjustment did the team make?
因为他们换上 Apex 嘛，但是我们输的那两场都是我们有优势，但是就是自己一直失误，然后送掉比赛的，所以我觉得就只是我们犯了失误，不管是谁，我觉得只要不犯失误就会赢。
So overall, I think like even though they replaced with Apex, so it's really about like we don't make any mistake from our teams. So in the end, it's like we make less mistake, so we win.
就是犯的错误比较少一点，所以减少一些失误。其实
他认为是跟选手没有关系，跟他们自己的表现比较有关系啊。
那我另外想要补充一个在我们的提问上没有提到的问题啊，就是你在这5场面对自己的比赛当中，你基本上是主宰了每一场上路的兑现。你觉得你们在这个系列赛上路落差那么大的原因是什么
？So I think like the question here is that you actually dominate basically all 5 games. So what do you think is the factors that cause you to win these games?
我觉得首先就是我已经知道他大概会选什么英雄了，然后我有在平常的团练跟 solo rank 有去模拟，然后再来就是我个人实力比较强，所以很轻松的赢下来。
哇哦，很有自信的一个发言呢。
Alright, so basically we already practiced like which champions we're going to choose, and we know that what champions they were used as well. So overall, I just play better champions, therefore we win.
好，那最后的话，这个题目上面的话，还有一个就是明天的你的对手是 Magi， 那你在上次遭遇的时候是胜部冠军赛，在打满5场的时候是可惜输掉了。那你最后的话是你觉得没有赢下比赛的主要原因是什么？那你们会做什么样的一个补强或者是说改善吗？
So you guys will play Machi in the grand final tomorrow. So the last times the 2 teams met with was during the upper bracket finals, and the series went to the 5th games. What was the root cause of that made Talon lose the last times? And is there any different approach that you guys or strategy you prepare for tomorrow?
我觉得上次会输的原因就是因为我的发挥不够好，被 PK 压制了。但这次我会把自己的状况就是调整到最好，然后在线上取得优势，然后帮助队友拿下胜利。
Yeah. So the last time, I think like the root cause is like Hanabi doesn't play that well, but this time we actually which caused him being like suppressed by PK. But this time he's well prepared, so yeah, they're gonna win the games.
所以说，这个关键人物依然是在哈纳比身上，连他自己本人都这样觉得。那我们也是非常感谢哈纳比接受我们的访问，也希望你在冠军赛可以持续的表现很好，然后发挥到最多。好，那我们这个。
And thank you to the translation there from Mr. Kevin Pai. It's very weird having my boss have to do the interviews, but I love it. It was great. Thank you very much, Kevin, and congratulations over to Hanabi and the rest of Talons for securing their victory and securing their slot in the grand final tomorrow.
Yeah, what's such an opening act 2 for Talon, especially again they're a new organization for League of Legends, and they managed to reach the grand finals in such a insane fashion with a lot of hurdles that they had to go through, including the best of 5 series that they had to go encounter rather, and have to do it again tomorrow against Machi. And yeah, I'm pretty hyped when it comes for the grand finale.
Yeah, as you saw, those were our matchups for today. AHQ were able to take down Hong Kong Attitude in a 2-0, but then, unfortunately, Talon was able to bring them all the way to Game 5. And you cannot escape Talon when it comes to a best-of-5 series, it seems, so they should be pretty satisfied. And they'll be going up against Machi Esports for the championship for PCS Spring, happening tomorrow in one single best-of-5.
It's going to be another spicy rematch, as again, they already fought during the upper bracket finals, and it it reached until a game number 5. And as Hanabi stated, he said that the reason why they lost was because he didn't really play better in comparison to PK, as he was suppressed by PK at topside. So I'm excited to see, the improvements coming to their rematch, especially it's a grand finale.
Yeah, for a grand finale, and it's been kind of this was the big matchup throughout the course of the split. This triangle of teams where one team was able to take some off, one team was able to take some